So I was sitting here and I had a couple other things, a couple other issues, Jezebel spirit, stuff that I posted on my Facebook, a couple other things that I was wanting to go back into and discuss, but I was sitting here frozen and unable to make the move and start it. And I came across something that, pretty quick, won't take too long, hopefully. This is called The Last Stage. I just want to go through it and give my little spiel on it, but it's called The Last Stage of Narcissistic Heartbreak No One Talks About. There is it has 7 examples, 7 different, things. And the first thing it starts with is the awakening. You finally realize the person you loved never truly existed. They were a performance. So for me, when I first started learning about narcissism, that awakening, how real that is, and that it took that's all it took for me was, it took one, and I'll share it with you. I Googled it on YouTube. I just looked up narcissistic, and the first thing that came to my feed, and this happened in a drug rehab where I was doing 30 days, it said, narcissistic abuse and unspoken reality. I watched the 25-30 minute video documentary with it had, I'm not sure exactly, I think it was produced by Richard Grannon. He's one of the probably the one I listen to most that talks about narcissism, which I learned a lot more from other ones, but for him, I've stuck with him. I resonate with the things he says, but I resonate with all of it because I learned from top of the line psychologists on these dark subjects, tackling narcissism, psychopathy, and on and on. And there is so many overlapping traits. One I'm learning about now, and they're also describing ADHD, and the toxic system that a narcissist and somebody with ADHD or borderline personality disorder, all these different things, the way that they could make a very toxic system. And but that's who I learned from. The awakening. When I watched it, I was grabbed by this stuff, and like what it says here, you realize the person you loved never truly existed. And this is going to go on to other things, but for me, I was like, that's so hard to hear, because you create this fantasy in your head, and you believe that there's genuine parts of this relationship. You hold on to that and think, if I could just pull that person out and have just that person without the bad stuff, that would be great. If I love them enough, whatever I have to offer, if I love enough, if I'm good enough, I can make this person change. I will be worth it for them to change. Number 2 is called the collapse. You grieve not just the relationship, but the illusion. It feels like mourning a ghost. I'll be honest. I've walked through a relationship, being, like what kind of, this isn't even a relationship. I've walked through that before. But when it says collapse, I don't really quite understand that part. You grieve not just the illusion. Okay, so, yeah, that's the fantasy that you hold of this person. So I guess you grieve that. And realize that you spent however much time loving something that was never going to happen, was real, and you feel like an idiot. Number 3, the rage. You feel angry at yourself for ignoring the red flags and allowing the manipulation. I've said it before, for me, I thought I was very good with reading people. So one of the great things for me is I learned how gullible, which I knew I had problems. I knew I was, but the ignoring the red flags, I absolutely do have saw red flags and ignored them all my life, Believing the best. I've been very gullible in that area. Thinking that, for whatever reason, ignoring this. But when you do it with love in your heart and big plans for the future and life and all that stuff, that does hit a different. But I've done it on many different levels with friends, business deals, whatever. I've made very bad decisions, That's put myself at jeopardy to be taken advantage of. I've been very gullible. And a lot of it was me ignoring red flags that I knew. Like, I know how this turns out. Why am I even... And I still, better terms, it's being a sucker. I've been that person. So, for me, all this stuff that I say I've learned, and the awakening and coming out of such nonsense, I still have the ability, and I've been learning this stuff since 2020. Yeah. And, it's hard to not see this stuff, and I can go without looking at it. This is written, this has changed my mind, my heart, made me aware, in a good way. It's altered my life in a good direction, I believe. The rage. You feel angry at yourself for ignoring the red flags and allowing the manipulation. I could still find myself subject to making these mistakes and putting myself in that position, which is something like with Richard Grant. And I heard him say, like, I've been in 3 and I might have the number wrong. I just heard him say one time he's been in a few different narcissistic relationships. I'm like, what? I learned from you. Like, so if this dude that is a professional, like, how are you subject to that a third time? I feel like I could never do it again. And I said that when I saw him say that before. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Like, what do you mean? How? I could never be done like this again. but I have, in a way. And there is different kinds of narcissism that you have to deal with. There's all kinds of different kinds of toxic relationships. Another one that I wanted to mention a minute ago was dismissive, avoidant style of a personality. And they're describing it, and I'm like, well, yeah. And some of it is so confusing. It's like, how can you, well, dang, I would diagnose that as, now that I know everything I know about narcissism, I see that person, I'd be like, oh, that's a narcissist. It's a lot to this stuff. And here, my belief is, that's the thing with needing God through all of it. You need the Holy Spirit. You pray for that. And asking for the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of all of it. Because it could get very confusing. Very deceptive, But I felt that. Like, I literally have been in the relationship where I called out the red flag. Like, hold on. Boom. I got these red flags going up. I'm like, nah. I'll just see where it goes. Let's see where it goes anyways, because you want the best, you want the best outcome. And for a man who wants to fix things, wants to be good enough, wants to be enough, maybe I can love this person and change that. A very gullible thing is, and a very dangerous thing is, so for the narcissist, they very much value the control, the power, the manipulation. So I personally have been in that spot to where I'm like, okay, I've literally walked into a relationship like, here, this is who I am. This is the kind of person I am. If you don't like it, I would advise you. This is how well I knew myself and was transparent about it. Like, listen, I have this issue, that issue. If you want to go down this road with me, I advise you not to do this or that. Or, hey, I advise you not to go down this road with me if you have this issue, because this is how I'm going to respond. For me, knowing myself, this is before narcissism, before I knew all that, me knowing myself, I'm like, hey, I want this relationship to work. I love you. I think you're great. I see a future for us. However, if you have these issues hiding and you're not being transparent, let me tell you I'll tell you our future. So don't go down this road. And for this person, this was somebody, we never slept together, but I said, don't go down this road with me. I said, because I will use drugs and I will also cheat on you. And me not knowing, walking into that, see what that is doing, I just handed over my insecurities for someone to exploit. That's how that works. And you don't know it. You're thinking like, who would, in my mind, I'm like, that's a fair warning, and that will push somebody to either do the right thing, what I believe is the right thing, or don't hurt me in these manners, because, you don't want to be cheated on. You don't want, you hate drugs that bad? Well, guess what? Treat this person this way. Whatever. That was my thinking behind it. And me not realizing. And it goes way deeper because in my mind, I'm like, you don't want, here. I had no boundaries. Boundaries sounded stupid to me. I didn't understand that. I'm like, okay, let's exchange passwords. Let's act like that. Let's freaking do all that nonsense. I share my Messenger account. I share my Facebook. Let's do all that goofy stuff. Because in my heart, I'm handing over trust. I'm showing you, like, here, I don't have nothing to hide. I just told you I will do that. I don't care. I don't hide my life. This is what I will do, regardless. And I don't live under the operations of the way lots of people do. This is who I am, and if you don't like it, or your friends don't like it, then that's too bad. I'm okay with that. I want to be authentic me. I don't like all the fake nonsense. This is who I am. If you don't like it, your friends don't like it, your family don't like it, tell them to beat it. That's how I was. That was in my arrogance. And I do care about how people see me, but there's some things that, this is me, man. If you can't read my heart, my mind, and see me fighting for the right things, fighting for love, then skip all of that. Now we're opening up some stuff for me to talk about. A lot of stuff. And I would like to get back to that. But let's stick with this, man. Let me finish it. That's the rage from the manipulation. That's the stuff I subjected myself to by going through all that. 4, clarity. Clarity is so... That's how I walk now, you know. And I know there's some things I haven't finished, man. This could go on and on. You have to really be enthralled with this stuff. And I'm enthralled with it because I believe, man, I deal with freaking people. And it sucks, man, because when you know, and you're dealing with a person with all these freaking sick, goofy, manipulative traits, man. It's a freaking headache, man. But it sucks for me when I know, and they know I know, and they still use it against me because they don't. And that's where I know in my heart they're blind. They don't know. They ain't really feeding into the stuff I'm saying. And they don't know that my silence, just because I'm silent about it, I know not to respond. Because narcissists do things for a response. And we're going to get something to that. So I'll take you back to the rage. Ooh, I used to love it. The anger. Not love it, but it was a way of life for me. I didn't have a problem freaking blowing up cusses about and telling them this is how you make me feel, blah, blah, blah. Toxically. The cure for that was simple. Learning that you was giving away everything somebody wanted, man. And I love giving people what they want. I don't love giving them, not for sick purposes like that. Because that's what I've already made videos and talked about. That's the reactive abuse that they love. That, when you find out, so for me, when I figured that part out, like, oh, they do that for fun? They do that as a way of life? Like, they push you and poke you and they literally hurt you and just to get that reaction. And I give the best. I'm sure I gave great ones, you know. I'm positive I know. Yeah. But the clarity, you begin to see every pattern, every lie, and how deeply you were controlled. Ooh. I would see, I can pick the pattern up before I was already on to that stuff. Patterns of behavior, picking it up, like, and here, even the thought pattern, like, okay, look, and if I could ask the questions enough, and somebody would, you know, like, boom, no.
Leslie.
What's up, buddy? 1 second. What's up, buddy? Come on.
The van key.
It's on there. So that I was able to see that pattern. I was able to recognize that pattern recognition stuff in people's behavior just from being hypervigilant, being observant, from being in prison, living that life. You begin to see every pattern, every lie, somehow deep, and how deeply you were controlled. that realization when I learned all this stuff, and I'm like, dang, here I am. No wonder I didn't get the response that I expected. Like, here, I think when I'm giving you my passcodes, when I'm giving you whatever money you want, anything you want, when I'm being this people pleasing, I'm just pouring whatever on you. I'm thinking I'm showing love. That's how I'm reading it, But what I'm turning over is more control, more control, more control. So when I learned that, I'm like, oh, no wonder that freaking missed the mark, because they don't receive love. They don't feel it. They don't receive it. Don't care about it. It's all a game. It's game. As Richard Gaines said, game after game after game after game. Yeah, so there's some little revelations on that. Number 5, the emptiness. A strange silence replaces the chaos, and it's both painful and peaceful. All I'm going to give you on that is, man, so I go through times of being like, okay, a feeling. I go back and forth like, man, this was a curse, but it's not. Sometimes I'm like, we'll use the Matrix, for example. It's kind of like that, I used to be able to mess with girls and just knowing what I'm getting. That gullibleness gave me the ability to have just, gave me the ability to have feelings for someone that I, have that toxic relationship with. And now I'm like, I know there's, now with the knowledge and understanding I have of this, that's the good side of it. It stops me, it heals me, stops me from pursuing anything nonsense. I can see through the holes in somebody's story and see those patterns. But there's it comes with loneliness. It comes with, that lack of excitement, love, So you go back and forth, but you're also, with that loneliness, there's the good times. It's like, you will have the fun times where somebody is trying to manipulate you or give you all the bull crap, and you like, I wish I could believe that, but I know what it really is. You're like, for example, somebody, that wants to exploit you for, whatever, compliments, give you some compliments or something. You're like, oh yeah, I know what that's for. I wish I could accept that as a compliment, but I know the motive behind that. Yeah. Number 6, the rebirth. You start reclaiming your self-worth, boundaries, and identity piece by piece. So I feel, the rebirth, that's, I think that's what we just said, that's catching these things. That's all for me, that all falls under the awakening. Do I reclaim my self-worth? Yeah, I'm worth more than going through these toxic relationships. Yeah, worth more than just sleeping with whoever. And Christ has really healed my heart and changed my life for that stuff, And I've said that before, God makes all this stuff better. You can do all this stuff psychologically, and it's the same way with drugs. Oh, you can get clean off of drugs, and if you don't have Christ, if you don't have the Holy Spirit and that guiding you in life, sobriety won't matter. None of that stuff will matter. The healing, all this, it's just a better life on this earth. That's all, that's all it can provide. And most importantly is the fact that this earth has lots of problems without God. The peace. You no longer crave closure. You understand walking away was the closure. For me, my specific. Hey, yeah, because here's the thing. The peace, closure. Guess what? Their specific design is that you never have closure. For me, as you know, what I suffer from, I don't know, well, a problem I have with that, we'll say, I believe that God can heal the darkest and change, the best, worst of the worst. How many times should you forgive? 70 times 7. I have no hatred toward anybody. And I do want the best for people, so I want to forgive, I want to go back, I want to make things work, I do believe that God can change anything. So I do, I would probably say I'm still gullible in that area, because I will give people chances, and just because I have this part of my heart that I think, okay, what's it gonna hurt, to try, because they can't hurt me no more. You understand? I've already been through all the stuff. I can't. What do I have to lose? So it's, but you no longer crave closure. No, I guess I don't. I've came to the realization that you don't get closure. And you're not going to get the truth. It's not happening. That's the power they love. They love to have that over your head. They want you to fight and desire that stuff. Ugh, it's so sickening to watch it in real life. To see their joy from sick stuff, from hurting someone, from hurting people. That's it, man. I'm gonna go through that. That's all. That's it. That was the end. And stick around. I will. We had some boxing last night. Didn't film it, but we are getting back in. I'm trying to get that more back into it. Which, yeah. Yeah. Amen.